Hello and welcome to my channel, and I'm here to review the December 1989 issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So let's get to reviewing. Okay, what you have here is the WWF Big Rubber Guys action figures, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated uh, merchandise, shirts, hats, bumper stickers, st- buttons, all that stuff. Uh, Content, table of contents, between the falls. Who is, I guess one of the letters are, who is more awesome, Hulk Hogan or Lex Luger? This is back in '89, so I guess nobody was more awesome than Hulk Hogan, I guess. Ringside with Bill Apter, talking about world class coming to an end, with the match between Eric Embry and P.Y. Chuha. And Eric Embry pinned P.Y. Chuha, and world class wrestling became the USWA. Because I guess the world class, Skandar Akbar and Tojo Yamamoto was going to run the company, but with Eric Embry beating P.Y. Chuha, and it became USWA, then USWA was supposed to be run by the Honorable Max Andrews. So World Class was over, and they said the era of the Von Erichs was over, and it was a new era. Cause I was a big Eric Embry fan, so I mean I didn't see Kevin didn't wrestle that much during this time, but I liked Kerry, but Eric Embry was just the man around at that in Texas at that time. Eric Embry was the man. And they also talk about Ricky Steamboat leaving the NWA. Right here on here, they say that he had a foot injury and he wanted to leave. He was leaving to take care of the foot injury, but obviously in real life it was a contract dispute. But anyway, it talks about Ricky Steamboat leaving NWA in the middle of his feud with Lex Luger. From the death of Stu Sachs, it talks about he did an article in his last issue doing a top 10, comparing to NWA and WWF top 10. And when he picked Ric Flair over Hulk Hogan, a lot of the fans wrote him, and they were very mad and saying there's no way Ric Flair can beat Hulk Hogan. So he's just answering, talking about reading, showing a bunch of the letters where all the fans are mad, saying that Hulk Hogan was better than Ric Flair. No Holds Barred. It talks about Jake the Snake after he was convicted of aggravated battery when he beat up some I guess it was a friend of his or somebody he met at a club, and then Jake wound up beating him up. And this was around the time I guess he was wrestling. I guess storyline he had a neck injury, so he was off during that time. So I don't think I didn't know the real story until later on. Like at the time, I didn't know about the aggravated battery assault. But Jake the Snake was crazy, was wild back in them days. In Focus talks about Ricky Steamboat being gone and Lex Luger loves it. Lex Luger gloats about running Ricky Steamboat out of the NWA. There's also talk about the Ultimate Warrior beating Andre the Giant in like 60 seconds. He just comes in the ring and squashes Andre. They were saying that this is a sad ending to the career of Andre the Giant. And they also talk about Kerry Von Erich training Chris Von Erich to become a wrestler. A new Von Erich era on the horizon. And they said that Chris was supposed to lead the Von Erichs into the new century, but of course that didn't happen. But at this time, people were very excited. Matt Brock looking at Kerry Von Erich and just you know trying to discuss nutrition with Kerry Von Erich. because Matt Brock is supposed to be this old crusty guy that drinks all the time and eats bad food, and he's trying to give Kerry Von Erich nutritional advice. So off the top rope column with Eddie Elner. The official ratings. Okay, let me read the top 10. Number 1, the WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan. Number 2, the NWA World Champion Ric Flair. Number 3, the United States Champ Lex Luger. Number 4, Randy Savage. Number 5, Sting. Number 6, the Intercontinental Champion Rick Rude. Number 7, the USWA Champ Jerry Lawler. Number 8, the AWA World Champion Larry Zbysko. Number 9, Great Muta. And number 10, the Stampede North American Champion Larry Cameron. Top tag teams. Number 1, the WWF Tag Team Champions Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. Number 2, the NWA World Tag Team Champions the Freebirds. Number 3, Demolition. Number 4, the Road Warriors. Number 5, the Samoan SWAT Team. Number 6, the Bushwhackers. Number 7, the Midnight Express. Number 8, the Hart Foundation. Number 9, the Destruction Crew, Mike Enos and Wayne the Train Bloom. And number 10, the CWA Tag Team Champions Mark Starr and Chris Champion. That is your top 10 for the period that ended on August 9th, 1989. They also have the top 10 managers. Okay, number 1 is Bobby Heenan. Number 2 is Gary Hart. Number 3 is Elizabeth. Number 4 is Paulie Dangerously. Number 5 is Jim Cornette. Number 6 is Paul Ellering. Number 7 is Sensational Sherry. Number 8 is General Skandar Akbar. Number 9 is Slick. And number 10 is Teddy Long. There's Paul Orndorff's done it. So have Andre the Giant and Randy Savage. They all befriended Hulk Hogan only to turn against him in the end. Now that Brutus Beefcake and the Hulkster are a hot item, people are beginning to wonder, when will Beefcake turn against Hogan? So Hogan and Beefcake were friends, and Beefcake, in real life, they were best friends, and Brutus Beefcake started, the Barber's character started coming up and was real successful. They started teaming up. And, they never, everybody thought that eventually he would turn. And maybe if Beefcake didn't get injured, he might have turned. He might have eventually turned on Hogan in WWF. I mean, because that's the thing. You just don't know where Beefcake's career would have went if he did get injured. Because I'm thinking he was supposed to win an Intercontinental title from Mr. Perfect before the injury. And who knows how long, that run could have been. He could have shot off into the stratosphere. Maybe he could have been champ. I don't know. The world champ. I don't know, but you just don't know. It's like one of those people don't talk about that about Beefcake, the what if. If Brutus Beefcake didn't get hurt, where would his career have went in the WWF? Could have been a big deal. Might have been the same. I mean, who knows? But he did not turn against Hulk Hogan in WWF. But he did turn against He did turn against Hulk Hogan later on in WCW. Press conference with Mills Mascaras. He was wrestling in world class at the time, challenging Jerry Lawler for the world class title. Young and the Restless. The NWA's future is in their hands. And they're talking about all the young talent that the NWA had, with guys like Lex Luger and Sting and Rick Steiner. Then they're bringing in Sid Vicious and Scott Steiner and Brian Pillman and Shane Douglas and Johnny Yates, the Dynamic Dudes. All these potential superstars were coming into NWA at this time. They figured, the Great Muta, all these talents, and you figure, they had the future. That the future was going to be in all those guys' hands. That was going to lead NWA to victory. Didn't really work like that. A close up with Jimmy Snooker. Jimmy Snooker poster. A close up Jimmy Snooker's most hated opponent, Colonel De Beers. His greatest match, December 26, 1983, with Arnold Scullin versus Lou Albano and Don Morocco. His toughest opponent is Roddy Piper, and his favorite maneuver is the Superfly Splash. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard are the greatest. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, are they the greatest tag team ever? Because this is after Arn and Tully beat Demolition to win the WWF Tag Team Champions, and they became the first team to win the WWF and NWA World Tag Team Championships. So they were the first to do that. So people were wanting that. This article is saying, are they the greatest tag team ever? And basically, the conclusion was, they're a good team, but they're not the best ever. You can't say that with teams like the Road Warriors running around, who would later on become the only team to win the WWF, NWA, and AWA World Tag Team Championships. But Arn and Tully were a great, awesome tag team. Canada's best tag team, the British Bruisers. Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid, aka the British Bulldogs, once ruled tag team wrestling, but a violent breakup of this classic scientific duo and Dynamite's formation of a team with Johnny Smith has resulted in a new empire, the British Bruisers. And this is, of course, when Dynamite and Davey Boy broke up, and then Dynamite started teaming with Davey Boy's cousin, Johnny Smith, and then Davey Boy started teaming up with Chris Benoit. And Chris Benoit's idol was the Dynamite Kid. So they're just talking about all this. The team was supposed to be a feud. I don't know if because I didn't watch Stampede Wrestling, but I think the feud was supposed to be Dynamite and Johnny Smith versus Chris Benoit and Davey Boy Smith. But at the time of this writing, Davey Boy Smith was still injured from that car accident that he was in along with Chris Benoit. The media review, where they just talk about all the behind the scenes stuff in wrestling, the ratings and mainstream media, how mainstream media handles wrestling. And this was something that when I was looking at as a kid, I hated these reviews. Like, what is it? None of this stuff matters to me. And now I love going back and looking at this stuff and watching behind the scenes stuff. This is the type of stuff the Observer always talked about. So it is talking about how announcers prepare to call wrestling matches, and how they always have to be prepared no matter what. And there's a picture of Lee Marshall, the AWA announcer. Then they're talking about No Holds Barred, the movie, and how it kind of tanked at the movie theater. And I liked it. I don't care. I mean, it was. It wasn't super good, but it was okay. It was watchable. Back then, I liked it. The PWI Dream Tag Team Tournament semifinals. You decide who wins. And this was a tag team where fans voted. PWI put some tag teams against each other, and the fans would vote who would win. They would write in and vote who would win. And the teams were, of course, the Road Warriors versus Johnny and Davey Rich. And the fans voted the Road Warriors would win. More fans voted for the Road Warriors to win than Johnny and Davey Rich. The Warlord and Barbarian versus Rick Steiner and Eddie Gilbert, and the Warlord and Barbarian won. Mike Rotundo and Steve Williams versus Bad Company, Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, and Mike Rotundo and Steve Williams won. Stan Hansen and Terry Gordy versus the Bushwhackers, Stan Hansen and Terry Gordy won. Demolition versus Vulcan and Malkin Singh, Demolition won. The Samoan SWAT team versus Akeem and the Big Boss Man, the Samoan SWAT team won. Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton versus Kerry Von Erich and Jeff Jarrett, the Midnight Express won, Bobby and Stan. And then Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson versus Kim Butera and Brad Rangans. and of course Tully and Arn won. So you got in the quarterfinals, you got the Road Warriors versus uh, Warlord and Barbarian. The Road Warriors won. Mike Rotundo and Steve Williams versus Hanson and Gordy. Hanson and Gordy won. Demolition versus Samoan SWAT team. Demolition won. Midnight Express versus Tully and Arn. The Midnight Express won. So as of now, the semifinals is the Road Warriors versus Hanson and Gordy, and Demolition versus the Midnight Express. So I did not. I think I voted, but I never. I wrote down the stuff, but I never actually sent it in. But of course, I would have voted for the Road Warriors to win the whole thing, because like the Road Warriors are the greatest. This month in Sports Review Wrestling, an exciting and nostalgic special section: Hulk Hogan's toughest matches, and in Wrestling Superstars, an incredible superstar dream match pitting Elizabeth against Sensational Sherry. Yo, that's kind of crazy that WWF never actually had that match. Sensational Sherry versus Elizabeth. I guess Elizabeth really didn't want. I guess probably more Macho Man didn't want it. I guess he probably knew how tough it was, and he didn't want her getting involved. Cause she wrestled later on in WCW, but she was with Lex Luger at that point. So I guess Macho Man didn't want Elizabeth wrestling. I guess the continuation of Between the Falls. The picture of Macho letter. There's a letter talking about Macho Man being helped too much by Sensational Sherry. They talking about how Ric Flair fan wrote in how a fan wrote in talking about how NWA should have stripped Ric Flair of the title since he didn't defend it for 30 days after he got attacked by Terry Funk. Continuation of Between the Falls. Picture of Hulk Hogan from the movie No Holds Barred, and picture of Tully Blanchard dropping an elbow on Kurt Hennig. I guess this must have been from the Royal Rumble. No, that would have been interesting if they kind of created their own Four Horsemen in WWF when Tully and Arn came in. And you have like maybe Tully and Arn, Mr. Perfect, and like I guess Barry. I don't know when Barry Windham came in. The summer you had like Mr. Perfect was the top guy maybe, and Barry Windham and Arn and Tully. Or if it's not Barry, then it's maybe Ted DiBiase or maybe Greg Valentine. But they could have tried to do that, create a horseman like group with those guys. That would have been interesting. No holds bars and talking about Ricky Steamboat leaving the NWA. Continuation of Ringside. Talked about continuation talking about Andre getting destroyed by the Ultimate Warrior in 10 to 15 seconds. And Jake the Snake aggravated assault battery. From the death of Stu Sachs, and it's just continuing to talk about fans being mad that Stu actually thought Ric Flair could beat Hulk Hogan. Back issues of Sports Review Wrestling. Continuation of the British Bruiser story. Continuation of the press conference with Mills Mascaras. Continuation of Off the Top Rope. And Eddie Elliner's doing his whole I hate Dusty Rhodes thing again. Whole thing of why he hates Dusty Rhodes. And they got the 10th anniversary sweepstakes. This was after the 10-year anniversary of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, where they had a bunch of souvenir prizes to give out, and they're just naming the people that won the prizes. Arena report. They had a couple reports from Stampede Wrestling. They usually didn't have reports from Stampede Wrestling, so. Wrestling Inquirer. AWA introduces team wrestling. Revolutionary concept will feature top stars in new format. So this is basically the start of the AWA Team Challenge Series, which was not a revolutionary concept and it did not feature top stars. I mean, at that point, the AWA was just one swirl away from being flushed down the toilet. Just not great. And then the people leaving in the middle of it, I think Sergeant Slaughter was the team captain and he wound up leaving in the middle to go to the WWF. So yeah, the Team Challenge Series did not go well. Antonio Inoki elected to the Japanese House. I guess that was like he was being elected to the Senate and like the equivalent of the Senate in America. And Ronnie Garvin reinstated as a wrestler. This was after he lost a match to Greg Valentine and he had to retire. Then he became a referee, and now they're just bringing him back as a wrestler. Ronnie Garvin really did not have a good run in WWF. And the Rock and Roll Express are back again. So I don't know how many times the Rock and Roll Express broke up and got back together. But maybe this was the first time. I'm not even sure. And the PWI poll, the subject respecting rules. And they're just talking about different things about should the title change hand on disqualification. The blood. They talked about Sting. I mean, Ric Flair versus Lex Luger at the Great American Bash in '88, and and Lex Luger was bleeding, and they stopped the match. But next year, when it was Flair versus Terry Funk, both of them were bleeding, and the ref didn't stop the match. So they're just saying, does the rules even matter anymore? And then this Captain Sponge, I guess it's a little wrestler, a sponge toy you could play with. You could wrestle, and I remember I wanted this so bad, but never got it. But I figure, like a little, you could like pick it up and body slam and all that type stuff. But I don't know if I would have had that. How you explain that to other people that don't watch wrestling? That look kind of weird. But anyway, back some more of the big, giant rubber wrestlers. Okay, this has been the review of the December 1989 issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Thanks for watching.